Hey guys, what's up? Toyhouze here. Now, with the endless stream of news that more and more changes have been announced, you might have reached a point where you realize that, man, wow, Wrath Classic is going to have so many changes, I can't even keep track of them all. And, you know, honestly, I agree with you, because Wrath Classic, out of all the classic games, is probably going to have the most changes, with the development team, you know, adding a feature here, removing a feature there, and just keep hearing that more and more. You know, it's almost like Wrath Classic is some sort of Frankenstein monster, you know, with extra arms and extra legs, and, you know, it's missing an eye or something, you know. And, you know, another way to say that is that it's an abomination of what it once was. Now, the point of this video is that I want to recap for you some of the biggest changes coming to Wrath of the Lich King, and also show you basically how it's kind of a different game, but at the same time, it is still going to be an excellent game because it's not an overhaul. It's not like, you know, Warcraft 3 Remastered, where they're doing a complete graphical visual overhaul, which gives the potential for complete destruction of the game like we saw. So either way, I mean, the game is, what I'm trying to say is the game is so good, not even Activision Blizzard can destroy it. But I want to go over some of those changes if you haven't been keeping up. So some of the most recent changes, you know, is that certain engineering items can't be used in Arena. I don't think this is like a crazy bad idea, actually. I mean, some of these changes are good, honestly. Some of them are iffy, but this one's okay. Like Nitro Boosts can't be used in Arena. There was like a 50% chance, way lower probably, but they could not work, right? And if they did work, they're really good. But, you know, chance in Arena isn't a great thing, so overall, fine. You know, hand-mounted pyro-rocket, in my opinion, is like the main engineering thing. People used to macro that into like Shadow or Death, try to get a finishing combo on someone, right? Or whatever. Macro it into some sort of kill macro, right? For Arena. You know, but one of the big changes that was also recently announced was the items being nerfed, the Trial of the Crusader items. Now these items were so much better than Ulduar that people pretty much stopped running Ulduar and just massed Trial of the Crusader. And you know, this led to a lot of problems. People would just like run it all the time, you know, 10-man, 25-man, heroic, normal, you know, 4 lockouts a week, because the items were just so friggin' good that people felt like they had to. And they just stopped running Ulduar. And so Blizzard kind of wants to fix this, and this involves, you know, potentially nerfing those Trial of the Crusader items. But we heard super recently that instead of nerfing the Trial of the Crusader items, what if they buff the Ulduar items, normal mode slightly, and then hard mode significantly? I thought this was kind of a cool idea. You know, potentially they could make Ulduar more, you know, more enticing to continue doing once Trial of the Crusader comes out. Good fix, because frankly, I remember, I don't even know how old I was, but I remember not really doing Ulduar back in the day because I was just spamming Trial of the Crusader instead. I kind of missed out on seeing Ulduar. But that's just, you know, they're trying to fix these things that back in the day occurred, but they're not going to occur now because they're trying to fix them, right? Wintergrasp is another example of one of the problematic areas which Blizzard is trying to fix. They were throwing around the idea of, hey, let's add a back door for the faction who, you know, lost, so that they can still access Vault of Archivon, a raid which is only accessible to the faction that wins in Wintergrasp. You know, it's a good fix because, you know, if you're locked out, you can't get your weekly done. You know, realm balance is abysmal right now. Like, you know, if you saw my previous video, choosing the right server is really important. Speaking of servers, queues are insane right now. Good luck logging on to pre-patch. Got to do it early. But, you know, they ultimately decided that if anyone on a realm, this is how it's going to function so far, could change again, right? If anyone on the realm wins, so let's say that one alliance player or that one horde player wins their instanced version of Wintergrasp, so there's many instances of the faction fight going on. If any of them wins, then the Wintergrasp control goes to that faction, but that means that basically both factions are going to always have it for their instanced version. So basically, Wintergrasp, you're just always going to have it. You're never going to basically not have it, is what it sounds like, which is different. It's going to be different. It's going to be different this time around. Another really big one that I think a lot of people overlook is that we're going to start, and we already have on pre-patch, Wrath of the Lich King patch 335. This is the class balance patch. We're not going to see overpowered Death Knights. We're not going to see that ridiculous version of Paladin where their Divine Shield just one-shots people. I loved that. The Prot Paladin. Somehow Prot Paladin is the best PvP spec for Paladin. You know, I love that patch. It's just not going to happen this time around. And honestly, I remember, you know, back in the day, I was chasing Flavor of the Month. I was an Orc Hunter. I made a Blood Elf Paladin because that was the thing, you know. You just, TBC came out. Everyone wanted to make those blood elves. I was like, heck yeah, man, let's make a blood elf. And I totally was like, all right, I'm not going to chase the flavor of the month this time with Death Knights. And man, I missed out on those overpowered Death Knights. I remember, dude, going into arena against like a Tauren Blood Death Knight. Back then, Blood was like the OP DPS spec. I think he war stomped me and killed me within that war stomp. I was like, damn, dude, he's like a rogue, dying within a stun. It was ridiculous. It was terrifying. It was this giant cow with an axe, and he stomps, and then you're dead. It was sick. I'll never forget that. But yeah, they were super overpowered. They're not going to be. They're not going to be super overpowered this time around. I mean, patch 335, we've seen so many nerfs by that point. So anyways, just wanted to highlight that we are having that balance patch. Also, the heroic and normal version of raids sharing a lockout, but not the 10 and 25 man versions. This is a pretty big change for raiders. You know, this is, you know, gonna basically cut your raids in half. You know, TOC, you're not gonna be able to run it 4 times, 2 times max now. Again, I kind of talked about this, so I don't want to reiterate that point too much. Along with that, you can't wear like a heroic version of a trinket and a normal version of a trinket. They're going to share that unique equip category. To be honest, I looked around at, you know, best in slots for a lot of different, you know, classes and, you know, situations. Most people didn't actually do, you know, this. You know, you might see it, you know, with Solace of the Fallen, you know, the MP5 trinket. There's potential that, you know, maybe you want ridiculous MP5 for PvE situations. So you want like the normal version and then the heroic version. You're just never going to run out of mana. But yeah, it's not that crazy of a change. But, you know, particularly, I think this affects humans who typically will not equip, you know, a PvP trinket, right? So you go into PvE with 2 really good trinkets, and you don't have to worry about that PvP trinket because you have every man for himself. Which another change, they're changing that to will to survive, and again in pre-patch you'll already see that change. One of the biggest changes, though, if you know you haven't heard about it yet, is the random dungeon finder, or I should say the non-existence of it in Wrath of the Lich King. Activision has 0 plans to add the random dungeon finder, which is a big blow to about 50% of the community, myself included. I'm a lazy gamer. I want to just be able to queue up and be teleported into a dungeon. I love that. But that's not going to be in there. But for a lot of people, they're happy, so I'm super happy for those people. But you know, it's not going to be there. Maybe they're just holding out on us, and we're going to see it get added in like phase 3 or phase 4. Who knows? But it's not going to be there, and everyone should know that if you haven't heard already. But chances are you know, because I mean this is like one of the biggest changes. Switching over to the PvP side of things, you know, the 2v2 arena bracket, you couldn't get Gladiator back in the day because it was just really imbalanced. I just remember, like, you know, I feel like I honestly think like Rogue Priest and Paladin Warrior were some of the just most overpowered 2v2 teams, and certain teams just like that could just easily get Gladiator. But you know, I mean, someone posted a comment like, oh, why not just play that team comp? It's not overpowered if you're playing the same team comp. I guess it's, you know, true, but what about everyone else in their team comps? But whatever. I mean, they're going to allow it, you know, now in Classic. So if you love 2s, which by the way, 2s is a lot of fun, you can get Gladiator through 2s again, which is kind of cool. You know, why not? But that's another change coming. You know, adding on to the point that it's going to be very different this time around. You know, back then they also went through a lot of different badges, switching over to PvE. So Emblems of Valor are going to drop from all raids during Wrath of the Lich King. You know, it used to be, you know, different emblems depending on the tier. Heroics drop a different emblem. I think you ended up with like 3 or 4 different emblems by the end of Wrath. It got pretty crazy. But this is actually going to simplify it, in my opinion. You know, you get the Emblems of Heroism from, you know, Heroics. You get the Emblems of Valor from raids. It's going to be simple. It's not going to be super complicated with, you know, different too many tiers of emblems. And again, these are like the equivalent of like badges of justice, for example, for TBC. Another big change is that Naxx is getting buffed. You know, they kind of felt like Blizzard overdid it back in the day. So, you know, this raid almost no one did back in, you know, original vanilla World of Warcraft. And then, you know, they wanted to bring it into Wrath so more people could experience it. It was a really cool raid. You know, I remember doing it and being like, wow, this is so cool back in Wrath. And kind of excited to do it again, but they felt it was overdone. You know, the difficulty of vanilla Naxxramas 2006 was too hard. Then they over nerfed it and they felt it was too easy. And so now it's going to get a buff. It's going to do, the people in that raid, I guess monsters in that raid are going to do more damage, and they're going to have more health. And I actually surveyed everyone. 80% of people like that change. So very, very cool. I guess it was just way too easy. Now, in the absence of random dungeon finder, Blizzard is also introducing a new group finder tool. I'd say most people aren't super crazy about this, but you kind of have to use it. If you even want to post in the looking for group channel, you have to be listed in the group finder UI tool. So Blizzard's kind of forcing you to do that. That's a really big change. You can list, you know, if you're a shaman, you can list yourself as a tank. You know, if you're a rogue, you could list yourself as a healer. Not recommending it. I'm not suggesting it, but it's possible in this tool. I don't know. You know, certain classes can absolutely early on can do certain roles. Like you could probably get away with like certain classes doing certain things, but you know, later on you should, you know, probably stick to like, you know, tried and true. Like if you're a shaman, you're either a healer or DPS, you know, things like that. But you know, I don't know. I'm willing to try the tool, whatever. But we'll see. And you know, one of the biggest changes of all is already implemented, in my opinion, which is Joyous Journeys. All experience gains increased by 50%. You know, I feel like we're entering an era of convenience, accessibility. Blizzard themselves said that this is a pillar. They released 5 pillars of their philosophy for all these changes, and they wanted to make the game accessible, right? And so that means easier to level, accessible. You don't have a lot of time to play. You want to get to the end game. Joyous Journeys is sort of the solution for the casual player or someone who doesn't have a lot of time to get to that end game. You're going to level faster. In Wrath, there's already a massive level squish from Outland, like the 60 to 70 XP required has been squished, reduced, right? And then on top of that, Joyous Journeys gives you an extra 50%. Approachable pillar, that's what it was. They also are nerfing boosting. Like you can't, you know, snare mobs en masse if you're too high level of the target. Like if like, I think, what is it, like 4 or 5 or 6 levels higher than the target in your group, you're just annihilating their XP. Pretty sure boosting still happen. I was looking at LFG the other day. There were still people advertising Slave Pen's boost. So I think it still happens, honestly. But I mean, it's probably harder to do, or maybe there's a certain level range. I don't know. Even more recently, I saw that they're making it so if you want to follow someone, you have to actually right click follow. There was a lot of weak auras where you could just do exclamation point, follow, and you could have a weak aura so that your booster could just type that in, you'd automatically follow them. You're basically AFK getting boosted. I mean, this is crazy, right? But this was happening. So that hopefully is going to go away. No more weak auras, follow command, boosting. But I feel like these are some of the biggest changes coming in Wrath Classic. Wanted to give you an update if you haven't been, you know, following along. And, you know, in summary, all of this is to say that Wrath Classic is going to be a new experience. While thankfully it's not a full graphical remake like we saw with Warcraft 3 Reforged, and, you know, that kind of was a cataclysmic event. And, you know, I don't think Wrath Classic is going to run the risk of complete destruction like War 3. We're going to have a game that's a lot like Wrath, but it's going to have a lot of really major changes. I know I'm going to enjoy the heck out of the game either way. Don't get me wrong with this video. I love the game. I'm going to play the game. I think we're all going to enjoy it no matter what Blizzard does to it, unless they do something insane, but I don't think they're going to do something beyond. I mean, what could be worse than RDF, right? They already made a massive change, so I thought it was worth mentioning to anyone who hasn't been following along with all the announced changes about all the different changes that are coming, so that you don't come back and are super surprised. Now, if you like the video, guys, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.